Join us and unwind with a good book. Welcome to Relaxing Reads.
Welcome to another episode of the Relaxing Reads podcast, where we get to chat with the author of Brooklyn Thomas Isn't Here, Alli Vail. Hello, Alli. You have here Deb from Halifax, Tanya from Edmonton, and Simone from Vancouver on the Relaxing Reads podcast. How are you?
I'm great. It's so nice to meet you all, and it's so fun that we're all so scattered all over the place.
Exactly. Where are you right now?
I'm in Vancouver right now.
Okay. Well, Alli Vail, you've had us on the edge of our seat trying to piece everything together. So we need to know, where did you find the character Brooklyn Thomas? There are so many traits and so many women can relate to her. Was it something you had in your mind for a while?
Well, it was actually really funny. I was working on something else, and I woke up one day, and this woman named Brooklyn Thomas was in my head, and she worked in a donut shop, and she didn't have a heartbeat, and I don't really know where she came from, but she was just there, almost fully formed. And I was like, okay, I think I need to drop everything I'm doing and write about Brooklyn.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Wow. Is that one of those hypnagogic hallucinations?
I mean, that would be a great story if it was. I would love that.
That is crazy that just came to you like that.
Well, I mean, I think it was some of her character traits and some of the things that happened to her definitely came from experiences I was having in my own life or from talking to my friends about things they were experiencing. So I think that I wanted to write a character that I could relate to and that was going through things that I felt I was going through. So I think all these things were rattling around in my brain, and then she kind of popped out, which was great.
Oh my gosh.
That is fascinating. I mean, this is Tanya in Edmonton, Alli. You have Brooklyn is fascinating, and certainly the arc that she goes through from beginning to end. And you've also got a pretty cool cast of characters. And where did you come up with the idea of having, 4 women, both with the name Emily, coming to support her in a way with these hallucinations? Where did you come up with that idea?
So basically, I wanted to kind of have these various symptoms, and this isn't giving anything away, of Brooklyn's progression and her becoming more dead. And I just had this sense that Brooklyn was a really lonely person, but you can't have a lonely person in a book with no one to talk to. There needs to be people that she's interacting with. But the point of the story is that she's super isolated and super alone. And so I had to give her someone to talk to. And slowly these Emilys started coming to me. And I was also thinking a lot about how we rely on TV to kind of fill some holes, and to if we're lonely, we flick on the TV, it fills up noise in our apartments. And yeah, I thought that they were a good stand-in to kind of meet the emotional needs that Brooklyn was feeling, because all of them play a slightly different role or have a slightly different connection to Brooklyn. And it kind of let her kind of work through these various aspects of her life, but not on her own, because she had these kind of mysterious women named Emily helping her along.
Yeah, it was really interesting because when the first Emily showed up, I was like, what is going on here? And then it got to the point where I was like, I really love these visitations, these hallucinations of all these different characters, and they're all in their way trying to support Brooklyn and have her become a real person again,
Yeah, I think we all kind of hope for some magic, right, in our lives sometimes. And I think that this was Brooklyn's little bit of magic.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, it was so nice to see the progression of Brooklyn's journey from the start of the book to where we ended up. And there's a lot of topics in this book that you talk about. There's the mental health, there's the heart health, a lot of pain. Why do you think Brooklyn's story is an important one to share?
Well, I think on the health thing specifically, there is a condition that someone has in the book that gets overlooked by her doctors. And I was having a lot of conversations with my friends who were having some health issues, and we were all we go to the doctor, and the doctor's just it's anxiety, and they kind of were blowing people off. So I wanted to address kind of this idea that women aren't hysterics when they go to the doctor, they have real problems. So that was one thing I wanted to think about. And I think that we kind of forget that people are going through a lot in their lives, but they're also expected to do so much in their lives. They're expected to go to work and they're expected to contribute and be functioning. But, sometimes it's just too much and we all need a little break. And I kind of wanted to look at that and explore it in a way that was a little hands off.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that you've done this and there is a focus on it, because if we are not well, we ignore it sometimes, especially women versus men. You know if a man's sick because he'll tell you, he'll tell the whole
The man
neighborhood,
cold.
the whole workplace, right? But women, we have been built to believe that we can handle as much as is being thrown at us every day. So we tend to ignore the things that we know our body is trying to tell us. So I think it's important that we realize that we don't have to ignore it, and we can bring up these topics that are so very important to our overall health.
Totally. And Brooklyn, you know that she feels a lot of pressure because doesn't feel like she's meeting these like unspoken expectations that the workplace and the world and society and her family have put on her. And she just feels like she's failing. She doesn't look at it and go, oh no, actually the expectations are wrong. So I really was interested in that too.
Mm-hmm. And even with the workplace situation that you put Brooklyn in, working for Lawrence Communications and the struggles that she had there, just not, writing press releases and things only to have them rewritten, the sexual misconduct that was happening within the office to the point that she felt like she had to go and do a job so beneath her because she felt the only thing that she could do. And even then she was working for that horrible Matt, slimy Matt. Have you known somebody who has been in that situation where they just sort of they just opt out? Like they just go, yeah, I have a degree, but I can't do this anymore and I'm going to go sell donuts.
I think that actually, I feel like this is a common experience. So when I was working on this, my friends and I, we were all kind of in our early 30s, and we all had kind of careers in tech and these kind of fancy industries, but we were all exhausted. We were so burnt out. We were not progressing as far in our careers as we felt we should be. And it wasn't because we weren't competent. Lots of us were amazingly competent, but there is still a lot of sexism in workplaces, and there's a lot of microaggression in a lot of industries still. And so this was a conversation I was having with so many people, just we did these careers. Some of us fell into these careers by accident. These careers aren't really serving us financially or creatively or emotionally or spiritually, and we're just kind of stuck. And we wanted to be able to opt out, and we wanted to be able to do something different, but it's so hard to start over, and it's so hard to kind of figure out what that is once you've been so enmeshed in this specific culture. So it was just a conversation I was having and experiencing, and I just wanted to read about it and work through my thoughts about it, and I couldn't find anywhere to read about it at that time, so I just was like, I'm going to figure it out myself. I'm going to write about it myself and see what I can draw from that.
I love that. So it's you're talking about a lot of these stories or things you've shared with your friends. And even for readers, what's the response been like for your book from those friends or people who have read it?
Well, I had a hilarious response. Someone put their hand up in our little event we were having, and she's like, Matt. I know Matt. I 100% know Matt. And I just thought that was so funny. She just said she knew. And I was like, wait, does she know him because he's not real? Or does she know someone like him? It was just a really funny moment because she was so insistent. And I was like, this is hilarious because she was so fervent about it. And I have heard from people that they felt seen because they've experienced this stuff. And it sometimes is hard to talk about all of these things that happen at work and our careers because we put a lot of pride in them and we don't want to admit that, we're vulnerable about it sometimes. So, yeah, I've had really positive feedback. People felt like they could really see themselves in some of their experiences in the characters and in the workplaces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were talking about some of the characters and wondering if there's room in your mind. Is there another space to continue Brooklyn's story along with some of these other people who came out in the supporting corner in the end?
Oh, that's so funny that you ask about that. I feel like that's a question I've had a lot. People are like, when is the next book about Brooklyn Thomas? And I actually haven't planned a sequel for it, but I do feel that, you never know. These things come back around. And I think that, like, these themes are really important to me, like what happens to women at work, how we cope, like how we're treated at work. Like, these are things that are so important to me. So even if there's not another Brooklyn Thomas book or something related to the characters in the book, those themes are going to show up in my other work 100%.
You can all sit and eat a box of donuts and talk about where the characters might end up.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd love some tips. I'd love some ideas.
Well, I think that's just it, because now we saw, like, she kind of didn't have that support system. You know, her best friend wasn't around. She gets the support with the hallucinations, and then the struggle with that relationship with her mother, where she couldn't talk about her brother. Like, there were so many things, and now it's like she's finally gotten through that. So life is getting good. So I think that's why we're like, it would be nice for her journey to continue. Growing up here, like born and raised in Vancouver, I loved all the Vancouverisms, like talking about the Chief and Strathcona. I actually had to Google the bridge named after the dead politician. I know it's the Arthur Lang Bridge now, but I was like, which bridge? Wait, what are we talking about? But when it comes to the donut shops, was there one that you modeled it after in Vancouver or came to mind when writing the story?
Well, I definitely spent a lot of time in donut shops over the last couple of years. And so I guess maybe very loosely modeled it after a donut shop, but I tried to put my own spin on it. And certainly there is nothing against donut shop owners in real life.
Yeah, you don't want them writing nasty letters to you.
And I'm allergic to wheat. So, like, I would, order a donut and have a coffee, but, like, I wouldn't always eat the donut.
And I saw one of your, in your previous interviews, you said you really enjoyed coming up with all the donut names. Where did they all come from?
Oh, yeah, that was super fun because I feel like donuts and Vancouver were so, like, funny and trendy about our food sometimes that, like, I kind of wanted to make it a little bit absurd and kind of be like, really, do we need these crazy flavors of donuts? What's wrong with an old-fashioned glaze, But, yeah, it was just really fun to, like, put together really weird flavors, and I wanted to push the envelope, but every now and then I'd be like, oh, that sounds really good. Like, I wish I could have that flavor right now.
I thought the best was when Matt decided to make donut sandwiches.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
I could almost taste them, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit queasy making. You're like, do I need this amount of grease in my stomach at this time? No.
Grease is all good, especially at certain times.
That's true.
I did have a question for you, though. I'm just going back a little bit in terms of the characters that you developed, and there's a whole bunch of different characters in this book. And I wanted to ask about Spencer, because he wasn't just the irritating brother. He was actually really harmful. And I'm just wondering, like, why you wrote a character like him, because I actually felt like he was an evil character, and it upset me that he was going to be a doctor when he actually had no feeling for people at all. So what is your take on Spencer? Like, how did he come about?
Well, I was reading a lot of books about sociopaths and narcissists. I like true crime, so I was always reading about kind of these people who are in these, like, positions of power or positions of that we just typically respect. Like, there's that idea that, like, not a lot of firefighters, but, like, firefighters can also be arsonists, right? Like, it's not completely unheard of. So I was really curious about this. And I've met a few people over the years that definitely have made my radar go out. And what's interesting to me is people that I am very suspicious of and have just met, like, either as acquaintances or people I've met once or twice. They'll be working in this field that allows them a lot of power over vulnerable people. And, there's a lot of research about how certain types of, like, antisocial behaviors, they do become doctors or surgeons or astronauts because they have kind of God complexes. And I thought this was fascinating to have this juxtaposition, because also a lot of these people who are, narcissists or sociopaths, they may appear one way to most people, and most people might be like, that person's lovely, but they'll target all of their behavior at one person, and then everyone thinks that that person is the one with the problem. And it happens in workplaces, and it happens in society, and it happens in politics. And so I was just really fascinated by this juxtaposition. And I mean, every book needs a villain, I think. Matt is a villain, but he's a villain we expect because everyone has worked with a Matt or had a boss as a Matt. So I wanted something that was a little bit more sinister, I think. And also, like, in a family structure, we don't often think about misogyny or sexism or how that impacts the people in the family. And I thought that that was an interesting thing to explore as well, because there's so much stuff that happens in families that definitely no one talks about.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it definitely came across in the book. Yeah. Another
Wonderful.
layer.
I'm so glad he was evil.
Oh, he was.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah, we all really enjoyed the book. It was definitely an eye-opener. It just kind of makes you think, like, we all go through things in life where you can get stuck in a rut or you feel like you don't really have the support system you need, but it's all kind of up to us to see how we get out of it and, how we can change our life. So it was really neat to see Brooklyn's life moving in a positive direction. So, Alli, what's next for you? What are you working on right now, or what are you most excited about?
Well, right now I'm working on, I just finished a thriller that my agent is trying to sell, and to keep with my themes, it's about a woman who works in a tech company and all her female coworkers start disappearing. So I think that is kind of a fun take on the tech industry. And I'm also wrapping up another thriller. I was actually editing it when you called, so I'm hoping to finish that one up this year as well. And it has a cult in it, because who doesn't love a cult?
Ooh.
Yeah. We're here for it. We're unstuck now because of Brooklyn Thomas, but we're here for the cult
and the thriller.
Wonderful. And I think they're going to be fun projects, and I'm excited about them. And I do hope that Brooklyn Thomas does remind people that, we can make changes in our lives, because that was really important to me too. Like, no matter how hard things get, we have a little bit of control and we just need to take it,
Yeah, there's definitely hope there.
For
We
sure.
were talking about it, saying that yes, you can do that if you nurture those relationships, your friends and your family, because they can take us through so much and help us when we think that we can't help ourselves, that we have a strong group around us to pull us up,
So important. So important.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Alli. We really enjoyed reading Brooklyn Thomas Isn't Here, and we look forward to your upcoming reads.
Thank you so much. I really did have a great time, and you asked such wonderful questions that I don't always get asked, so I really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alli. I've done the gross grind, throwing up halfway up, but I've never done the chief. I've never, it was when my phase where I thought all I should eat for breakfast was fruit, which you can't go do a physical activity on just fruit, right? Too much sugar. And then I went and had dim sum after we came back down.
Oh my God.
But anyway, I've never done the chief.
I've never done the
I'll have
chief
to put
either.
that- Yeah, I think I gotta go
Add
to
it to your
Squamish
bucket
next time in
list.
BC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll do it together. Thank you to you for joining us on another episode of Relaxing Reads. Until next time, bye.
Thank you for kicking back and relaxing with us. We hope you'll join us again on Relaxing Reads.